Why do an ICO? Why people love ICOs in general? So the main reason is that it's really the first time anyone on the planet can come and participate in the project. You don't have to live in Silicon Valley. You don't have to know a VC. You don't have to have access to invest as an LP, limited partner, into a VC fund. You could live in China or in Vietnam or the Philippines, and you can put $100 into a project that you believe in. That has never been possible until now, right? And you can choose between 1,300 different projects. There's over 1,300 ICOs out there, right? So suddenly everyone has access to the most exciting projects in the most exciting technology, and this tsunami is really, again, it may go up and down, but it's definitely growing in speed and acceleration, and more money is flying into this category from all the countries around the world. So global audience, both for the startups, for the ICOs, right? But also for the investors. And that's really something that is very, very unique, right? I did 7 startups as a founder. I raised over $1 billion, as was said. All of that money came from VCs. And for most of my companies, I had to go and present to 200 VCs until one of them said, okay, yes, I'll give you some money. Okay? On average, 200 times, I got no, niet, again and again and again, right? So in this world, where you have global audience, if your message really resonates, if you're really trying to solve a real problem that's supposed to exist and live on the blockchain, then you will find enough people who will say "da" instead of the "niet." And I can speak more Russian than that, I promise. Just it's coming. All right, so better terms. We talked about that a little bit, right? When I did my A round in most of my companies, they took 1/3 of my company. Sometimes a quarter, most of the time a third. 7 companies, not one company, I ended up with more than 5%. So the VCs are experts at taking another bite, another bite, another bite, and you left, as a founder, you left with very little. The beauty of an ICO is that the founders usually are left with the majority of the equity, and they actually have governance and control of the transaction or of the future of the company, which promises that your company is not going to be hijacked by people who only care about making money. If you have a dream and you want to really build something, you have a really good chance of building that. The benefit for investors, why investors are interested in ICOs. 17 years ago, I invested with Kleiner Perkins. Anyone here knows Kleiner Perkins? All right, used to be #1 fund in the Valley, not anymore, but used to be the most famous company. 17 years ago, I put money with them in the project. It was very exciting. Then we put more money in the B round and C round. We did the F round just like 3 years ago. And finally, we had an exit after 17 years. Anyone here wants to wait 17 years for an exit? I don't see, maybe, I think there's a guy in the back there that actually raised their hand. So the beauty of the ICO is that after 3 months, it's trading on an exchange. And you can actually, if you want to make a quick buck, you bought it hopefully at a discount and you're selling it, and you can flip it and take your money and move to the next project. And that's why a lot of people are doing it. So if you think of this whole industry, if you think about 2010, 2011, it was all anarchists. Everybody you met at a conference had 10 tattoos, had long hair, wore a hoodie, and if they met somebody like me, they wouldn't even talk to me because, I just don't belong to that club, right? So after we got all the anarchists, we started getting libertarians. You went to the conference and you started talking to people who wanted to change the world, make the world a better place, and we need to take down the government and come up with a new way of doing it. And guess what? 2 years later, we ran out of libertarians too. Okay? I don't think there are too many libertarians here. And then came the speculators. Anyone here is a speculator? Not a single hand. I'm a speculator. Here, there's a few guys here. I'm a speculator. There's nothing wrong with being a speculator. So we are running out of speculators. There's not enough speculators to take this industry to the next level. Okay? So the big question for this whole industry is, okay, this wave, right, is going to fall on itself. It's going to crush unless we bring the next group of people who are going to adopt this. And just sending coins to each other is not an application. That's not a viable business. Doing an ICO again and again and again is not a business. So the question is, what is the real business here? Okay, so strong brand equity, right? This is all about creating something that people need and having people trust you to execute on it. And very few projects have it, right? Filecoin has it, Ethereum has it. But if you look at some of the other less successful names, they had it and they lost it, right? So what's going to happen here, you know, is what happened with the Cambrian explosion. Anyone here knows about the Cambrian explosion? Yes? Oh, he was the only guy who listened on 7th grade to his biology teacher. Okay? We had a huge explosion. Millions and millions of new creatures were created. Nature went crazy. Okay? Just like the blockchain, right? Everybody became a zombie. 90% of those animals died out. Well, guess what's going to happen to 90% of these blockchains and tokens? They're not going to survive. So right now is the time to build your brand. Right now is the time to accumulate as many followers as possible, because everything that goes up must come down. I'll let the translator catch up with me. So tokens can be used as a utility or security. And it's very important when you do your homework about an ICO that you understand the difference between the two. You need to also understand what the difference between a token and a coin. Okay? People use that interchangeably. They don't understand the difference. A coin is someone who has his own blockchain. A token is somebody who's riding on somebody else's blockchain. So Celsius, for example, it has a token. We are an ERC20 riding on top of the Ethereum platform. Even though we support 20 different blockchains, we support Bitcoin and we support Tezos and we support Litecoin and so on, our token is riding on Ethereum. So it's very confusing, right? But you have to understand the difference between the two. So, with disruption comes great responsibility. What does it mean? It's very easy to raise money. It's very easy to give hundreds of millions of dollars to 20-year-olds and hope that everything is going to be wonderful. Anyone here has teenagers or 20-year-olds in their house? Would you trust them with $100 million? Well, that's what we're doing, right? That's what we're doing. So giving too much money to an entrepreneur usually does not result in good results. They lose focus. They think about Lambos and parties versus coding and not sleeping and eating pizza all night and so on, right? That's why VCs, traditionally, their A round is $2 to $3 million. Only if you pass that threshold, only in Russia would somebody do that, just walk in front of you on their phone and not pay any attention. All right, so the responsibility here is on both sides. The responsibility is to choose the best project, but the responsibility also is to, for the entrepreneurs who take this money, for the founders, to say, yes, I'm in it for the long term. I'm going to deliver on my promise. So, I do believe in a very bullish future, but the few that survive are going to accumulate almost all the benefits. So the blockchain that outlives everything is going to be bigger than gold, is going to be bigger than Microsoft, is going to be bigger than Google. It might be even bigger than the US dollar. But it's very difficult to say what that is. We don't know if it's Bitcoin or if it's something that has not been even born yet. So you have to really pay attention to what the governments are doing. You have to pay attention to what everybody is, all the news that come out every day, because without it, you're not up to speed and you can't really place the right bets. So here are the 5 most important things that you have to consider. Number 1 is the team. The team. Do they have the experience? Did they do it before? Did anyone else trust them with money? Did they deliver on the product? Did they ever make any money for their investors? Do they know what they're talking about? Are they a leader in the space? Is everybody else listening to them? Right? Just because somebody has a great idea does not mean anything about execution. You know? And if you read about the people who invented stuff and the people who actually built it, 9 out of 10 times it's not the guy who invented it. Just to give you a few examples, the airplanes you all flew in here are not called the Wright brothers airplane. It's called Boeing. Boeing did not invent anything. They didn't invent the airplane, they didn't invent the wings, they did not invent the airports, right? They just took the best ideas and they executed better than anyone else. If you have Apple in your phone, right, in your pocket, Apple did not invent anything on this phone. Not the screen, nothing, not the processor, nothing. They just put together the best technology ever. They were the last one, not the first one. They came last, and they executed best, and they now make more profit than all the other phone companies put together. Okay, so when you look at ICOs, and you look at the teams, the team, I would say, is more than 50% of your decision. Should be more than 50% of your decision. And I can tell you from experience, because one of the things I'm really famous for is not all the things I told you about. I sat down with this Russian guy back in 1998, and he told me how he wants to build a software for librarians. And I didn't really like that. I was like, who's going to use software for librarians? I said, what else can you use it for? And he said, search engine. I said, really, who needs another search engine? 1998, right? We have Lycos, Alta Vista, right? All these other ones. He's like, well, you know, we're going to be a little bit faster and better. No one needs that. He wanted $100,000 for his first check. Anyone wants to guess who that was? Sorry? Sergey, exactly. So if you met Sergey in 98, you would also not give him money. I wouldn't give money to Vitalik 5 years ago. Okay? Would you give money to Vitalik? Anyone here is smart enough to tell me he would give money to Vitalik? No. Exactly. So Vitalik went to the Bitcoin Foundation before he started Ethereum, and he explained to them that they need a smart contract. What do you think they told him? Niet, we don't need it. We have all the answers. Our Bitcoin is doing great. So, just like that, there's no reason why the next guy, the next Vitalik, cannot show up and do the same thing to Ethereum like Vitalik did to the Bitcoin group, right? So, you have to really pay attention to everything that's happening, and you need to understand everything. If you don't, there's over 300 funds out there that are willing to take your money and invest it for you. You don't have to make those decisions, right? All the crypto funds, all the hedge funds that are now getting into the business, they have hundreds of analysts just sitting, reading every white paper, every technical paper, making the decisions for you. The token that everybody's offering you has to live on the blockchain. That's a very important thing. Everybody here is selling a token, everybody has a great idea, blah, 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 blah. You know? Is this token really required? Does it need a global footprint? Does it need consensus? If you don't understand consensus, don't invest in the space. Does this project require 1 million people to say yes at the same time? That's consensus. If not, then why do you have a token? So the blockchain is something very, very, very inefficient. Okay, it's very slow, it's very intensive, computationally wise, it requires a lot of electricity, it requires a lot of communication. It's only good for very, very few things, right? Open ledger, consensus. So what are those applications that require a consensus from many, many people all over the planet? It's not your local real estate agent, it's not your wine shop, it's not some guy who's trying to sell you a diamond. Those things do not require consensus, global footprint, or an open ledger. I'm sorry. You know, all those projects are going to fail. Few things do require all of that, like transferring coins between all over the world, right? Between people who don't know each other. So Moving coins, Bitcoin, Ethereum, whatever, is a perfect application. Millions of people all over the world, everybody at the same time has to know who has what coin at any time. Okay, so those are the things you have to focus on. Who's on the board? Who said this is a great company? I really love this CEO. He knows what he's doing. I know him from before. Right? And who are the investors who already put their money in? If you don't see anything about that, if no investor is willing to say, I endorse this company, chances are you don't want to be the first one. So again, token economics creating a new economy for users. Okay, Ethereum is a new economy for users with the smart contract. Bitcoin, moving value between people, a new economy for users. What is the next killer app? Filecoin is a great way of paying people who need storage and people who have storage. So all these things pass the check, right? They all, A lot of the other projects are niet. All right. Who here studied physics? I heard a lot of Russians. Here we go. So I'm here to correct Einstein's formula. He had it all wrong. Okay? E never stood for energy. It's really all about Ethereum. Yes? Anyone objects to that? No? I guess so, it's good. M stands for member. Okay, if you want your ether to be valuable, the only way your ether will become more valuable is if we continue growing the membership. And if you just add speculators, we're going to run out of speculators. Right now, 9 out of 10 people who are joining to buy a coin, it's not because they're excited about Filecoin, okay, or about some other project. They think that if they buy today, it's going to go up tomorrow, okay? And no industry is going to survive just because of that, just because speculators are rushing in. Because just as fast as they're rushing in, they're going to leave. That's just how the world works. And in Celsius, we're focused on providing credit to people. We think credit is the killer app. In the United States, for example, half of all the credit on the planet, half of all the credit available to people on the planet is being issued to U.S. citizens. $1.1 trillion. Does anyone here thinks it's fair? You just land in the United States and people throwing their money at you. But if you live in Moscow, if you live in Vietnam, or if you live anywhere else, no one wants to give you a loan. So we think 90-something% of the people on the planet are good. And if we just figure out who's good and who's a good actor and who's a bad actor, we can extend credit in the same fashion that we do in the United States to everybody else. And that is a real-world application. Anyone here does not want a credit card? Right? Everybody here wants a credit card. So the reason you can give somebody a credit card is because you know they're going to pay you back. Right? And that's really something that is a consensus among all the people on the planet. If everybody on the planet knew who was a good actor and who was a bad actor, and we could easily extend credit to those people, then we can pay the lenders, the people who have the money, interest, and we can charge the people who are borrowing the money interest as well. Today, all that money is going to the banks. The banks pay you nothing, less than 1% in interest. They take all that money, they lend it out on your credit card, and you pay 25, 28%. They make that spread. 20-something% in profit. Times 10. Most of you don't know that, but banks are allowed to leverage 10 to 1, at least in the US. Maybe here they can do more than that. Deutsche Bank is leveraged 43 to 1 right now. 43 to 1. For every dollar they have in deposit from you, they can lend out $43 and charge 20-something% on that. So all we're trying to do is take all that profit and divide it half and half. Give half of it to the borrower and half of it to the lender. Wouldn't be nice, right? That's a peer-to-peer application. That is a global application. That is a consensus-based application. That is something that requires a token as a mechanism of exchanging all these values between the people. So what do we plan as far as ICO? We plan to solve 3 problems. Currently, there's no way to earn interest on crypto assets. Anyone here gets paid interest on their Ether or Bitcoin or anything else? Any hands? You can't, right? The opposite. If you want to buy Bitcoin or Ether, the company that sold you that made between 3 and 12% profit, and then they don't pay anything for that. Why? Because they can get away with it, right? So the point is we can put all those assets to good use and pay a lot of money back to the community. Why the community? Because the community is the one that's going to build, is going to give a real reason for everybody else to join. If you cannot make any interest on your money in dollars, and suddenly you can make interest on your money in Bitcoin and have the upside appreciation, now you have a real reason to come and join the crypto revolution. And that's what we focused on, the next 100 million people to join this crypto revolution, not the speculator, not the anarchist, and not the libertarians. Second problem is there's no place for finance pros to hedge. If I'm a hedge fund and I want to play the market, I can only go long, I cannot go short. So part of what we enable is people to go short, right? They can borrow coins and go short. So lending your coins to a very high value investor who has millions of dollars in the bank is a very, very safe proposition. Okay? And the world still runs on dollars. Today, you know, few guys tried to sell kittens to each other and the Ethereum platform almost crashed. Right? Anyone knows about the kittens? Anyone here bought the kittens? Because it's your fault. Yeah, there's a kitten right there. Security, take her out. Come on. By herself, she crashed the whole Ethereum platform. So the point is that you really have to understand all these things. If you don't understand, if we can't run kittens, how are we going to replace Visa or MasterCard? Right? So all these dreams of the platforms, breaking all the rules, we're going to move everything to blockchain. No, we're not. Not yet. So we talked a little bit about the solution and what we enable. And again, I invite you to go to our website and read the blog posts. And again, become part of the community. If this is your first time, then you definitely need to learn much more. This is what the wallet looks like. So just starting January, you'll be able to download the app. Again, if an ICO does not have a working product, you have to ask yourself a lot of questions. Should I really invest in this project? This is our team. We have a lot of very experienced founders and technologists. And again, you can see a lot of this on our website. And this is how you can get in touch with us. So take a picture or just go to the site, and I can take questions in Russian. I'll answer in Japanese, but I can take questions in Russian.
Thanks.
Okay, we have one question to you. Should ICO analytics be centralized like in traditional financial markets or decentralized?
Should ICO
analytics be centralized or decentralized?
So the community wants everything decentralized, but decentralized also means that it's not necessarily accurate, right? If only 51% of the people agree to something, it doesn't necessarily mean we're getting accurate information. So specifically for data reporting and data analytics, I think it has to be centralized to provide much more accurate information. That's why, for example, the financial world has standardized on Bloomberg terminals, because that is a one source that everybody knows they can trust, and everything funnels through that. It gets checked, verified, because otherwise you can manipulate the data pretty easily, as we've seen again and again and again. So I'm a big believer of decentralization, but some things do not need to be decentralized.
Okay, thank you. Если у вас есть вопросы, вы можете поднять руку и задать их на русском языке, если вам удобно.
In Russian, if you like.
Just to prove that I understand Russian. The ultimate test.
Yeah. You understand all Russian words.
Все понимаю, давай.
Super.
Давай, давай.
Я, к сожалению, вначале не был. Как вас зовут?
Александр Машинский.
At the beginning, what is your name?
Я на самом деле пропустил начало, но мне сказали, что вы привлекли миллиард на ICO.
But they told me you raised 1 billion for ICO.
I can't answer in Russian. Is it too slow?
Yeah, I understand you.
I'm a founder of 7 companies. In total, I raised from investors over $1 billion from venture capital, right? So one company did 300 million, one company did 150 million, and so on. So altogether, over $1 billion. Yes.
What about real business, not crypto business? What about real business? Also,
What about real business?
yes, I need money for real business. For example,
You're in the wrong conference.
Oil and
There's a conference over there with real money and real investors.
No, the most important thing is,
He works for us, by the way. No, I'm just kidding.
yeah, you know, in Russia, here in Russia,
Вопрос, какой
Yeah.
вопрос?
могу ли я в реальный бизнес привлечь крипто?
To the
The
real business.
crypto, it's not about putting crypto into your business.
I know.
It's about what does the crypto needs to take over the world. So most businesses will disappear. Again, crypto is solving financial problems. It's solving open ledger problems. So instead of a centralized machine, let me give you an example, okay? This phone, the new Apple phone, runs 10,000 times faster than Ethereum by itself. If I do a calculation here, I will produce the result 10,000 times or more faster with 8 cores than the Ethereum blockchain. So it's not about efficiency. It's about which application requires consensus. So it's not about I have a flower business, can I put a blockchain on my flower business? Okay? It's about understanding what a blockchain is, what problem does it solve, what old industry, toll collectors. The banks are toll collectors. The search companies are toll collectors. The social media guys are toll collectors. In your life, almost everybody you interact with is a toll collectors. Right? They take a fee for allowing you access to something, even if it's your information. So what could be taken from there and moved to a world where it's peer-to-peer, consensus-based, right? Blockchain enabled. So if you're thinking about it from I have a business and I'm going to put something on it, you're thinking wrong. At least in my opinion, right? My humble opinion.
Вопрос к вам, как человеку с опытом в венчурном бизнесе и в ICO. В венчурном бизнесе есть раунды, даун-раунды
Experience and ICO experience. In venture, we have down rounds when the evaluation falls, and what can happen after ICO round? Is it possible to raise a venture investment?
So it's a good question, but there is no connection between ICOs and VC rounds or down rounds, right? I mean, it's not like you did your ICO and then you run to the VC and he loves you and he gives. The minute you say the word ICO, the door is closed. He put 2 locks on it and he doesn't want to talk to you. Okay? What the VCs want is to invest before your ICO and then also get free coins, right? So, and again, you will have about 200 people say no to you on average. That's my experience. Before you get a yes. Again, if you walk in and saying I did an ICO, you're not going to get an answer. So if your project is good enough to be funded by VCs, don't do an ICO.
Отлично, у нас есть третий вопрос, последний, потому что мы ограничены во времени.
Okay, let's go. Have some
Finally,
fun,
somebody in
fun
English.
here. Yeah, let's put some fire here. So, do you, Alex, believe that crypto will ruin dollar or fiat currency or so on?
If it's a very good question, thank you.
But I believe so.
No, good. I believe too. The answer is, if we continue just inviting speculators, 100% no. No chance of crypto taking over the US dollar. Because there's 7 billion people living on this planet. Only 30 million of them have said yes to crypto. Like I said, most of them are speculators. Then 1/10 of them no, 1/10 of them are libertarians, and less than 1% of them are anarchists. You finish with them; it's finished. No more. So if you want to replace the U.S. dollar, do you know how many people on this planet use the U.S. dollar? Let me tell you a quick question, a quick answer. How many people here think? Let me say it differently. There was a little colony that decided to mint its own coin. It did a mini ICO. It was illegal. Okay, immediately it was declared illegal. Okay, and then it got bailed out by friends. Anyone know who I'm talking about? Which coin am I talking about? The US dollar, exactly. The US dollar started as an illegal coin that was minted against the law because it was a British law in the 6 colonies in the United States. And when they sent the army, America got bailed out by gold from France. Okay, so this is not a different story. We're going through this. History is just repeating itself again and again. You want, today, over 4 billion people on the planet hold US dollar. It's a free, that's why the power of the United States comes from the US dollar, not from the military and not from the economy and not from everything else. Everything else rides on top of it. But the power, in my view, my humble view, the power of the United States comes from the dollar being the reserve currency of the planet. You want to replace the dollar? You need few billion people to adopt this technology. You want few billion people to adopt this technology? You better find a really good application, not selling kittens to each other. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks,
Спасибо.
Alex. Thank you.
Just to mention, Miko is one of the best guys in the industry. And if any of you want to learn anything, he's the guy to talk to.